explain you about those particular things, but eventually during our discussion, all the important pointers related to the statements provided in the question along with the needed explanation, I will provide you. You already have the solution document available with you. So when the solution document is there, there are a lot of information provided in those particular document and the explanation, right? But along with that, there were certain things that I want to add up further. So what I will try to explain you over here, whatever I'll write over here, whatever I'll try to give you in the form of certain stories, just make the short notes out of that if you are attending this discussion. Then only this particular discussion will be productive for you. Otherwise, hoga kya ki you will listen it like a story. Eventually, after 1-2 days, everything will dissipate. So if you want to make maximum out of this particular discussion of like this site today that we are going to discuss roughly 2.5 hours, so try to make some notes out of it. Okay? And then only it will be helpful for you. Okay? So let's start the discussion. So the first topic I have tried to do, I have tried to divide the questions asked in this particular test in a thematic manner. Okay? And when we are going to discuss these particular questions, I will try to arrange them and I will also try to give you certain kind of background. Okay? So background also we will discuss. So the first theme is after Aurangzeb, the later Mughals and the independent kingdoms. So this is basically pertaining about the 18th century India. UPSC had also asked a lot of questions based upon these topics, where in the mains specifically they have asked about the geopolitical theater of India during the 18th century, how the different regional powers started fighting amongst each other for gaining supremacy after the decline of Mughal Empire. So when the Mughal Empire started declining after the death of Aurangzeb, and even during the later reign of Aurangzeb, when he went towards the Deccan, and then there were a lot of losses to Aurangzeb, there was impact on the state treasury, and all these things led to the depletion of the economic might of the empire. Along with that, there were many other issues like the arrival of colonial power that led to the decline of Mughal Empire. So here, the question related to these we are going to discuss. So the question number 42, consider the following statements regarding tax. So the Chauth was a tax predominantly levied by Marathas on the territories outside their control, amounting to the 1/4 of the revenue. Okay. So in the context of Maratha, if you have seen the recent movie Chhawa, there is a term that is being used again and again, Swarajya. So basically that particular thing, you have to have a very clear idea about what was the meaning of Swarajya as per the Maharaja Chhatrapati Shivaji. So unke hisab se what was the meaning of Swaraj, what all territories he wanted to ensure in the Swaraj, all these kind of things are now more important. Previously also these were important. So the concept of Swaraj, the concept of Samraj, these are important from the territorial perspective of Maratha Empire. So Swaraj used to be the area which Marathas have direct control upon. Okay? So Marathas ka area where they were directly controlling and from where they were also getting certain amount of taxes, that region was Swaraj. Now basically during the reign of Aurangzeb, many such regions were in conflict with the Mughal Empire, and then Marathas wanted to consolidate that particular thing and wanted to emerge as a Swaraj region. While on the other hand, Samraj, which in English means the empire. The empire of Marathas also included certain territories later on annexed by Marathas from different regional powers. Also, the Confederacy of Maratha, where they have incorporated the areas, including the areas of Scindia, Holkars, Bhosles, Gaikwads, and including the areas of Peshwa. So the Samrajya used to be a broader term where the Marathas were claiming. Now, in the context of this question, the Chauth was a tax predominantly levied by Marathas on the territories outside their control, amounting to the 1/4 of the revenue. Now, 1/4 of the revenue is Chautha or Chauthai or Chaturth, from where this particular term Chauth was taken. So the Chauth used to be the 1/4 of the land revenue. Now from which areas? From the areas which are not under control of Marathas or direct control of Marathas, but Marathas were claiming because Marathas wanted to expand their empire. Marathas wanted to make sure that this particular region tomorrow should be the part of Maratha Empire, and hence they were asking regional powers ki bhai suno, if you want to save yourself from the Maratha raids, give us this 1/4 or the Chauth, because if you are not going to give us this Chauth, we are going to annex your territory and then we will merge this particular region into the empire. So this was the Chauth. So it was a kind of tax which is presently basically considered as the tax to prevent any kind of further raids from the Maratha. So this statement is correct. Now Sar Deshmukhi, Sar means additional, Deshmukhi means basically the kind of revenue collected by the chief revenue officers. This is an additional levy on and above Chauth. So from the areas from where the Chauth used to be collected, there sometimes the additional 10% levy also used to be collected. So this is a 10% additional levy. Now from which areas? Even from the areas which were part of the Maratha Empire, because Marathas considered that this area is their hereditary land, and from here they have hereditary right to collect the revenue, and hence Sar Deshmukhi was collected even within Maratha Empire and outside the Maratha territories. So it is collected from both the regions. So it was the additional levy of 10% on the revenue which was considered as the hereditary right of the Maratha ruler. This statement is also correct. Now, agar yaad nahi ho raha ho ki how much percentage it is, so Desh, Dash se 10. So it is 10% of the additional levy that Marathas used to control. So both the statements are correct, and which of the following statements are correctly matched? So it is basically C, both 1 and 2 are correct. Is it clear? Clear hai? Okay. Next question, question number 47. Consider the following pairs. There are two kind of pairs. One is Nawab of Awadh and the contribution or event during their reign. Now see, in the context of the regional powers, when we will talk about the next question where we will see the question of the regional power further, we will talk about that there are three prominent regional powers that emerged from the territories of the Mughals. So Mughal Empire ke weak hone ke baad, there were three prominent states or the regional power emerged. One was Awadh, which was basically carved out as a semi-independent principality or a kind of independent principality by Sadat Khan, who was also known as Burhan ul Mulk. So Burhan ul Mulk Sadat Khan in 1722 formed the independent or semi-independent principalities of Awadh. Now, what is this semi-independent principality or the successor states which were broke out from the Mughal Empire, but they did not consider themselves completely separate from Mughal Empire. They considered that the Mughal king is still their hereditary ruler, but Mughal king will be just nominal. We will not ask for any kind of other support or any kind of other dictate of the Mughal Empire or the Mughal Emperor. We will just continue giving them certain amount of levy. Maybe ho sakta hai some tax we are giving them, but just to maintain the nominal authority. Now, why not taken complete control? Because people are still having faith in the Mughal Empire. Complete separation might have caused some kind of rebellion in those regional states, and hence they did not completely separated themselves. So Sadat Khan formed the state of Awadh in 1722. Similarly, another person, Murshid Quli Khan, in 1770, when he became the basically Subadar of Bengal, the successor state of Bengal was formed. So Murshid Quli Khan, initially during the time period of Aurangzeb, he became the Diwan of Bengal by Aurangzeb only. All of them were the generals during the time period of Aurangzeb, and Murshid Quli Khan in 1717 was made as Subadar or the governor. Suba is a province, so the person who is holding the control over the province is the Subadar. So he became the Subadar of Bengal and then concentrated power in his own hand. Basically, he shifted the capital to the city of Murshidabad, like from the Dhaka, which used to be in the east, to certain central territory, which is Murshidabad. So it is Murshid Quli Khan. And later on, from 1740 onwards, it was Alivardi Khan who ruled. He was considered as second most prominent ruler of Bengal. Similarly, the third prominent successor state was the state of Hyderabad. So Hyderabad was formed in 1724. So it was basically Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah, who was the basically governor of Hyderabad. So previously, he was appointed as the governor of Awadh, and later on he was provided with the extra charge of Hyderabad, and then from 1724 onwards he became the complete Sarve Sarva of Hyderabad. So basically he controlled the Subadar wala power, Diwani power also, and all the other powers were vested in him. So three prominent personalities: Sadat Khan in Awadh, Murshid Quli Khan in Bengal, and Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah in Hyderabad. Now the question is asking about Nawabs of Awadh. So his successor came, for example, after him it was Safdar Jung. Safdar Jung ke baad it was Shujaud-Dawla. After Shujaud-Dawla it was Asaf-ud-Dawla. After Asaf-ud-Dawla there were later Nawabs, and this is the last Nawab, Wajid Ali Shah. So Wajid Ali Shah was the last Nawab of Awadh, because in 1856, on the context and pretext of misgovernance, Britishers or British East India Company had annexed Awadh, which led to the final ignition for the revolt of 1857. So Shujaud-Dawla signed the Treaty of Allahabad. Treaty of Allahabad signed in 1765 after the Battle of Buxar of 1764, where the parties like Awadh, led by Shujaud-Dawla, then Mir Qasim leading the Bengal, and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam fought against the British East India Company. So Treaty of Allahabad was signed during his reign, and even the 1761 the third battle of Panipat was also fought during his reign. So it is Shuja-ud-Dawla. It is correct. Safdar Jung shifted capital from Faizabad to Lucknow. No, it was done basically by Asaf-ud-Dawla. Asaf-ud-Dawla was the fourth Nawab after he was third Nawab, Shujaud-Dawla, and after him Asaf-ud-Dawla was the Nawab of Awadh, and he shifted the capital from Faizabad to Lucknow. So this is wrongly matched. Wajid Ali Shah deposed by Britishers in 1856. Yes, he was considered to be the last Nawab before the revolt of 1857, and 1 and 3 are correctly matched. How many of them are correctly matched? B, only 2 is the correct answer to this question. Is it clear? Clear? Hai? Okay, next question. Again, we have already discussed about this question. What should be the answer of this? Regional kingdom and founder. Awadh, Burhan ul Mulk Sadat Khan. Correctly matched. Hyderabad, Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. This was formed in 1722, again 1724, and then Bengal in 1717 by Alivardi Khan. No, Alivardi Khan became the Nawab of Bengal in 1740. It was basically formed by Murshid Quli Khan in 1770. So third is not correctly matched. How many of the above pairs are correctly matched? It is B, only 2 is correctly matched. Is it clear? Because we have already discussed, that's why I have not devoted much time on this question. Next, question number 60. Consider the following statements regarding the third battle of Panipat. So now in history, when you read about the battles of Panipat, there are certain things that you should be aware of. Why the battles are being fought at the region of Panipat? This was a means question, and similar question with changing some amount of language can be asked again, that what was the significance? Because in history, if you read the battles were fought nearby that particular region only. Even Tarain, even many other battles were in near that particular region only. And there were specifically 3 prominent battles in the Panipat region. So first battle of Panipat was fought in the time period of 1526 between the Babar and Ibrahim Lodi. This led to the establishment of the Mughal Empire. Okay. Second, between Akbar. So basically, Akbar was not directly fighting. Thank you. Akbar was not directly fighting. It was basically Bairam Khan, who was the regent of Akbar, who was fighting on behalf of Akbar. And versus who was the other power? It was Hemchandra Vikramaditya. Hemchandra Vikramaditya, who was fighting against the forces of Akbar. So this is the second battle of Panipat. Third battle of Panipat was basically fought between the Maratha power versus the forces of Abdali. So Maratha and Afghan forces led by Abdali. So this is the third battle of Panipat. Now, why third battle of Panipat actually happened? If we talk about the history of third battle of Panipat, first is why region of Panipat was important, because Delhi used to be the prominent center of rule in India. Now, if there is any specific prominent center, that center ka jo king hoga, that king will not want at any point of time that the external power should come till the territory. So the king want ki there should be some away location where we can fight. So that's why Delhi should not be the prominent location to fight. It should be towards the opponent side from Delhi. So when the opponent, suppose karo, if this is the map, rough map, if the powers are coming from the northwestern part of country, yahan se agar powers aa rahe hain, and here suppose karo it is Delhi which is situated. So and here it is the region of Panipat. So which particular location will fall first? Obviously this location. So whenever the people or the invaders are coming from outside India, this location first they will encounter. Now this particular location, Delhi also prefer this location to fight because this is near proximity of Delhi and also at a safe distance, so that the state will not get disturbed. Second thing is that this is a plain area, so the fighting will become easy. Movement of cavalry, movement of the elephant forces, provisioning, ration, the arms and ammunition availability, all the things will be comparatively easy if the fight is going to be near Panipat or in the territory of Panipat. Hence, Panipat used to be preferred, and it is also the location falling on the Grand Trunk Road from this region till the very eastern part. Now, what happened when Marathas were rising in power? Marathas started controlling far distant territories. When Nadir Shah attacked in 1739 in the Battle of Karnal, and he destructed the entire Mughal Empire. Now, in that particular situation, what actually happened? That जो थोड़ा बहुत area भी बचा था Mughals के पास, that area is also now lost. Now, economic deprivation was also there. So basically, after the attack of Nadir Shah, the Mughal Empire was a lot devastated. Now, Marathas were rising at that point of time under the leadership of Peshwa Bajirao I. After him, his son Balaji Bajirao, who was also known as Nana Sahib. So he started expanding the Maratha Empire in the east till Odisha, in the west and the northwest region till the region of Attock, which is the present day Pakistan ka region. So from Attock to Cuttack was the Maratha Empire. Now in 1752, there was a treaty signed between Marathas and Mughal Empire or Mughal Emperor कि भाई देखो Mughal Emperor, you are weak. You have to accept that. Mughal Emperor ने बोला बिल्कुल सही बात है, I am very very weak. Maratha said कि डरने की जरूरत नहीं, we are going to protect you. We are going to give you protection. In return, we will take the money in the form of chauth and other kind of levy, and also we will try to control over this particular region. We will not remove you, but we will control the entire region militarily. So basically क्या हुआ कि 1752 की treaty के बाद it is the responsibility of the Maratha Empire to protect the Mughal region or Mughal Empire. So can you see the dichotomy? Like previously the Marathas were fighting to gain their Swaraj. Now Mughals are fighting for their own existence. कि 1752 में they had to ask the Maratha Empire to protect us. The other external powers are going to like invade us and going to hamper the entire Mughal Empire. So Maratha said, don't worry, we'll protect you. So Marathas also started expanding their own empire. Entire Mughal territory was part of Maratha Empire, and they controlled the region of Punjab, certain areas in Sindh and nearby. Now what happened? Ki bhai, there was the successor of Nadir Shah, who was Ahmad Shah Abdali, who wanted to come to India, and he was constantly raiding India. So from 1747 onwards, he raided India like anything. And after his raid in 1757, what happened? He placed his basically his successor Najib. ठीक है, तो बेसिकली नजीब वाज होल्डिंग द टेरिटरी ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ अब्दाली. तो अब अपने एक बंदे को छोड़ दिया उन्होंने दिल्ली में कि बेसिकली ही विल कंट्रोल, बट देन immediately Marathas removed that person in 1758, controlled the entire area. Now Abdali thought ki bhai, Marathas have done this thing wrongly. Now I have to take the revenge. And in order to take the revenge, in 1761, they initiated the war, which is the third battle of Panipat. Now in this particular situation, one obvious aspect was that ki Abdali was the external power. How the internal power was so weak or basically were not able to defeat the external power? Basically, Abdali was able to secure some alliance with the leaders like the Nawab of Awadh, Shujauddaulah, the Nawab of different other territories like Rohilkhand, etc. So basically, on one side, the external power is able to secure the alliance. The internal power or the Indian power, which was Marathas were unable to secure any alliance, like Rajputanas did not supported Marathas. Even the other powers, which were like basically Jats, They also did not supported Marathas. So in this particular situation, Marathas did not had any other option, and their major leadership died in the third battle of Panipat. Even Nana Sahib succumbed to the death when he was reaching towards Delhi. So after this event, the Maratha power started declining in the Indian political spectrum. Again, they started rising in the leadership of Madhavrao I. But then that particular leadership remained for some amount of time, and by roughly 1790s, Maratha power again started declining. So Maratha power eventually we can say started declining after the third battle of Panipat. So battle fought between the Maratha Empire and Durrani Empire. Yes. Marathas were supported by Jats and Rajputs. No. The defeat at Panipat led to the decline of Maratha power in North India. Yes. So first and third are correct. Which of the following statements are correct? So basically C, 1 and 3 is the correct answer to this question. Clear? Hai? Okay. So out of all the regional powers, Marathas are one of the most important power. Hence, you should have a bit more idea about Marathas. Now, next is the policies of British expansion. Question number 65. Which of the following was the primary objective of Warren Hastings' policy of ring fence? What was the policy of ring fence started by the leader Warren Hastings? So Warren Hastings was the not first governor of Bengal, but first governor general of Bengal. So when in 1773 ka regulating act was passed, in this act it was mentioned that Warren Hastings is the first governor general of Bengal. So governor general of Bengal, जो previously used to be the governor of Bengal, was converted into the governor general of Bengal. Okay. So Warren Hastings, the first governor general of Bengal, whose tenure was from 1772 to 1785, a long tenure, and he initiated the major expansion policies of Britishers in India or British East India Company in India. One such prominent policy was the policy of ring fence. What this policy of ring fence was saying, that suppose करो एक ब्लॉक डायग्राम से समझते हैं. सपोज करो here it is a regional power, here it is the British power, और सपोज करो here it is a Indian state, other Indian state, maybe any other, तो maybe सपोज करो अवध है. Now what Britishers wanted to create a buffer between the contentious regional powers. मतलब if any regional power is directly against the Britishers wanted to create a more buffer through the creation of a ring fence. Now why that particular fence was developed? Because suppose karo, if Britishers had defeated Awadh, Britishers had acquired the entire territory of Awadh in the British region. Now this entire region would have been the British region, and this regional power is now directly at the door of British. So what Britishers used to do? Britishers used to intervene in the Awadh. Britishers used to secure the military power in Awadh through different means, through providing them certain kind of like concessions in order to place their army, to spend something more in their military expansion in order to gain certain more power of this particular power. And hence what they wanted ki bhai Awadh or any other regional power remain separated, and if there is any regional power fighting on them, it is the Awadh which is fighting, not directly responsibility of the Britishers. Britishers will support, but Britishers should not directly come in confrontation of this particular power. So the strategy to create a buffer state between the rival powers is the policy of ring fence. And later on, this policy got mastered by Lord Wellesley in the form of the policy of subsidiary alliance. So this subsidiary alliance, which was started by Lord Wellesley, it was the policy which was built up upon the policy of ring fence, and that directly talks about that you will place your army in this particular state, which signs the policy of doctrine of subsidiary alliance with you. Clear? So to create the buffer zones to defend the company's frontiers, yes, we are creating here the buffer zone in order to prevent the company's frontier. This should be the correct. Let's read others. To establish permanent British control over Indian territories. अगर permanent control करना होता, in that particular case, this power came directly in confrontation with Britishers. It was not the objective. To integrate Indian state into the British Empire through the economic means, no. That were the imperialistic policies. To foster alliance with the European powers against the Indian kingdom, no. This is also not. So A, to create buffer zones to defend the company's frontiers was the most appropriate answer of the policy of ring fence. So this was started by the leader Warren Hastings. Next question. With reference to system of subsidiary alliance, consider the following statements. Briefly, let's discuss policy of subsidiary alliance. There are two Indian states, state A and state B. यहाँ पर बैठे हैं हमारे, not हमारे, they are not ours, ठीक है? They are Britishers, not ours. So Britishers used to say to A can be any random state, B can be any random state. Britishers used to say to either A or B कि भाई देखो A, B ना आपका दुश्मन है, B is your enemy. Now A will say कि नहीं इतना भी नहीं लगता, A Britisher बोलते हैं हमें पता है he is. A बोलेगा चलो ठीक है मान लिया. Then so Britishers used to say B can attack you at any time. So A will say कि then what I should do? Britishers used to say कि भाई आपके forces जो है ना, your forces are too weak to handle the attack from British B. तो A बोलेगा कि नहीं इतने भी नहीं है. Britishers बोलेगा है. तो A को अब डाउट आ गया, सेल्फ डाउट आ गया. तो A asked Britishers what we should do. Britishers बोलते हैं कि take our army, we will give you army. तो A बोलता है कि ऐसे फ्री में तो नहीं दोगे, obviously. So in return you give the money for the maintenance of army because you are taking the army services, hence you need to give the money. This is the transactional business. Now A has more army. Now बी के एंड पे इनसिक्योरिटी डेवलप हो रही है कि भाई वाई ए इज स्ट्रेंथनिंग इट्स ओन पावर. नाउ ए इज हैविंग इनसिक्योरिटी बिकॉज बी इज नॉट अटैकिंग ए. अब बी का तो इंटेंशन था ही नहीं अटैक करने का, और मे बी था भी तो बी नहीं कर रहा है अटैक. इन दैट सिचुएशन फॉर स्टेशनिंग आर्मी ए इज गिविंग मनी टू ब्रिटिशर्स. नाउ देयर विल बी डिप्लीशन ऑफ रेवेन्यू ऑफ ए. मनी देने के लिए है नहीं, तो ब्रिटिशर यूज्ड टू से कि चलो कोई नहीं, इतना एम्पायर दे दो अपना. सो नाउ दिस एम्पायर गॉन टू ब्रिटिशर्स. नेक्स्ट टाइम दिस मच पार्ट ऑफ एम्पायर यूज्ड टू गो टू ब्रिटिश, एंड हेंस ब्रिटिशर्स यूज्ड टू अनेक्स द टेरिटरीज इफ दे आर अनेबल टू रीपे द मनी. Also one such condition that there was a resident. Resident is basically an official who used to be placed in A. British का एक official A में रहेगा, वो खबर देगा कि what is going on, which particular powers are there who are trying to attack A. ठीक है, what policies etc. But in theory it was mentioned that this resident official or resident is not going to interfere in the internal affairs. But resident will inform Britishers if A is going for any kind of negotiation with any regional power or any major external power, right? So in that particular situation, resident will inform Britisher. But in theory, it is mentioned that they are not going to intervene in the internal affairs. Indian ruler had to accept the permanent stationing of British forces within their territory at their own expenses. Yes, the expenses are being paid by a benevolency. तो है नहीं, ऐसा तो नहीं कि Britishers are giving forces like anything. The Britishers promised not to interfere in the internal affairs of the internal ruler. They promised, but many a time that promise was broken. But yes, they promised. Indian rulers were not allowed to employ Europeans in their service without Britishers' approval. So many such states where the local power tried to incorporate any other European power, for example, Bengal to French, Mysore to French, that led to the creation of animosity with British power. So Britishers did not wanted engagement of regional power with any other European power. So all the statements are correct. How many of the statement above are correct? So all three are correct. So C3 answer is C. Clear hai? Next question. Question number 73. Consider the following princely states. The states are Sambalpur, Jaipur, Udaipur of Chhattisgarh, Nagpur. How many of the above states were annexed by the British under the Doctrine of Lapse? Now, Doctrine of Lapse was implemented by Dalhousie from 1848 onwards. What was this Doctrine of Lapse? Doctrine of Lapse said that if any Indian ruler dies without any natural successor, in that particular case, on any other ground, if Britishers think that there is misgovernance, there is any other kind of issues going on in that particular state, Britishers can annex this particular territory. So this created the sense of insecurity among the Indian rulers. Yahan tak clear hai? Now there were issues. For example, there is a state of Satara. So in 1848, the ruler of Satara dies without any natural successor. This particular state was annexed. Next year, Sambalpur in 1849. The ruler of Sambalpur died. It was annexed. Now Jaipur was not annexed on Doctrine of Lapse. Jaipur signed the policy of subsidiary alliance with British. So Jaipur was not annexed. It is not Jaipur. There is a city, state Jaipur, which was annexed. Udaipur of Chhattisgarh, this was also annexed during 1852 around. There is another state, which is Nagpur, which is also annexed nearly in 1853. So these states were annexed. Apart from that, there are certain other states. For example, the states like Jhansi, it was annexed. State like Awadh on the ground of misgovernance. Then Jaipur. Okay. So these were the states which were further annexed by Britishers on the pretext of the policy of or doctrine of lapse. So 1 is correct, 3 is correct, 4 is correct, 1, 2, 3. So 3. So only 3 is the correct answer. C, only 3 is the correct answer to this question. Clear? So which particular leader started the policy of ring fence? Warren Hastings, Subsidiary Alliance, Lord Wellesley or Richard Wellesley. Arthur Wellesley nahi hai. UPSC had confused the students previously also between Arthur and Richard Wellesley. Both were brothers. And doctrine of lapse by Dalhousie. Okay. Next question about regulating and the Charter Act. So basically what happened that who was ruling in India? It was the British East India Company. So in 1609, they came to India, then started establishing their own territories, and then eventually they had tried to control 1639 it was Madras, then later on 1668 it was the Bombay, which was under the control of the East India Company. In 1690s onwards, it was the territory of Bengal. 3 major regions now under the control of British East India Company. Now what company was doing? Company was gaining control of more and more territories. So after war with Bengal was annexed. Carnatic region mein company supremacy was there, and even in certain other wars, for example in the first Anglo-Mysore war they were fighting with Mysore, and multiple other wars were going on. So company ke paas काफी revenue आ रहा है. 1765 में after the Treaty of Allahabad, the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha was with the British East India Company. Now when you have Diwani rights, that means you have the revenue collection rights, and when the revenue is coming to you, that means you have money. Now in 1770 there was a famine in Bengal. Now during the famine time there will be no production. कम प्रोडक्शन होगा, एंड व्हेन देयर विल बी लेस प्रोडक्शन, लेस लैंड रेवेन्यू विल बी कमिंग टू यू. सो कंपनी फाइल्ड बैंक्रप्सी. नाउ जस्ट अज्यूम दिस hypocrisy कि कंपनी इज कलेक्टिंग लैंड रेवेन्यू फॉर 5 years, very good production, and 1 year there was a drought and famine situation, there is no revenue, company had to file the bankruptcy. Now British government got alarmed. British government ने सोचा भाई company is doing a lot of malpractices, and hence it is the right time to start regulating the affairs of company, and hence in 1773 first act to control the affairs of company was there, which is the Regulating Act of 1773. In this particular act, what was mentioned? First thing that was mentioned, that from now onwards the governor of companies territories of Bengal is now onwards designated as the Governor General of Bengal or Governor General of Fort William. Second important provision, that Governor General's Council will have 4 other members. So Governor General plus 4 other members, and all the decisions will be taken based upon the majority. There is no point of veto till this point of time. There will be no veto. All the decisions will be taken by majority. Out of 5, what will be the majority? 3. अगर 3 हाँ बोल देंगे including Governor General, things will be done. So this is the second important provision. Third is that there were chances of corruption. So basically all the communication of whatever the officials of company are doing, that has to be provided to the government or the British government. So वो communication देना है, it is the responsibility of the court of directors at this point of time. Also, if any official want to leave India, he had to give the property का detail कि वो इंडिया से कितना property उसने collect किया है, what is the amount. So right now it is asked from the civil servant and many such government officials that how much sampati or how much property you have. Similar kind of things were imposed. Also another important provision was establishment of the Supreme Court with Elijah Amphy as the Chief Justice. So Regulating Act vested the administration of British territories in India in the hands of the Governor General assisted by Council of 4 members. Yes, Governor General of Bengal supported by Council of 4 members, and the other governors, Governor of Madras and Governor of Bombay, were made subordinated to him. So ऐसा mention नहीं किया गया था, but when one governor became Governor General, that means entire territory में इस governor का, who is now Governor General, the rule will prevail. The decision of council was taken by majority. Yes, the Governor General had a veto power. No, Governor General did not have any veto power, and this was the issue because of which many a times Warren Hastings was not able to take any decision because the majority member in council were against the Hastings. This is wrong. Which of the statement are correct? So A, 1 only is the correct answer to this question. Now there was an issue with respect to this act that Supreme Court ka jurisdiction was not defined. Hence in the Judicature Act of 1781, which was the amendment act, the jurisdiction was defined. The jurisdiction will remain in Calcutta, and that particularly also only on the British residents or British people. Okay. The second was Pitt's Act, then 1793, then 1813, and so on. Next is question number 70. Consider the following provisions regarding the Charter Act of 1813. So 1773, then 1784, then 1793, then 1813, 1833, 1853. These were the prominent regulations. So 1773 we had discussed. 84 was the Pitt's India Act, where there was a prominent council, which is the basically board of control was formed. ठीक है. 1793 में basically further 20 years के लिए company का monopoly was extended. 1813 में, because the question is about 1813, 1813 was a significant because here the important aspect was that now the trade of India was opened for the private enterprises also. So from Britain, private enterprises could come, they can trade. So company's trade monopoly was ended except for 2 things: trade in tea and trade with China. So except tea and China. Also education was important aspect for this. 1 lakh rupees per year was used to be provided after this. ठीक ऐसा provision बनाया गया था. Then Christian missionary activities was allowed officially. These were the things. It allowed the entry of British private merchants into India. Yes. The end of company's monopoly over trade with China and tea. No. Company retained this monopoly except that all the other monopolies were ended. Christian missionaries were allowed to come to India and preach their religion. Yes. 1 and 3 are correct, and B, 1 and 3 is the correct answer. ऐसा नहीं है कि इसके पहले नहीं था allowed, but before this they were not coming directly and government is not supporting. The EIC government was not supporting. Another important provision that from now, because here 20 years के लिए company का territorial possession was further increased. Hence the next act was there in 1833 and then in 1853. But it was mentioned that it will be there till the point of time it is not prejudicing the sovereign or prejudicing the crown. So basically the constitutional position of crown over India was mentioned. ठीक है, तो constitutional position was mentioned for the first time. So B is the correct answer. So 1833 was famous for complete end of monopoly. The Governor General became the Governor General of India. Then next was basically an important provision with respect to the law commission. ठीक है, so these are the certain things. Christian missionary, ठीक है, and then 1853 is basically famous for 2 important things. First is open civil services, and next important is the legislative councils were formed. So basically legislative assembly or councils, they were formed. So local representation was ensured in the 1853 का Charter Act. ठीक है. Next. Question number 20. Consider the following statements regarding the Indian Councils Act of 1861. So see, After 1853, the company's monopoly ended. Now, company's monopoly क्या? Company का existence ही खत्म हो गया after 1857 का revolt. And in 1858, there was a Government of India Act of 1858, where it mentioned that from now onwards, the Governor General will be designated as Governor General and Viceroy. Means he became the Crown's representative. One more thing attached to him is कि now that particular person is responsible towards another prominent person sent as a Secretary of State. So वो Secretary of State के लिए responsible रहेगा. Secretary of State used to be the member of British Cabinet. Now, Viceroy represents the Crown, but basically he used to be the representative of Crown. Many such other things were done by the Act of 1858. Then whatever councils were created by the Act of 1853, the Indian Councils Act further substantiated same. So non-official members, for the first time, non-official Indian members were included in the councils through the Indian Councils Act. So three prominent persons, Maharaja of Banaras, then Patiala and Sir Dinkar Rao. These were the three prominent persons who were part of the Indian Council as the non-official member, not official member, non-official member. Then there was a provision of budget that was started, but Indians did not have any control over budget. They could not ask a lot of questions. They could have discussed briefly that particular thing, do not have any other power on the budget. Further, there was a system started through this particular act, which was known as the portfolio system. What is this portfolio system? Means right now, a minister is assigned with Home Ministry, another minister assigned with basically the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, maybe Ministry of Agriculture, maybe Ministry of the Heavy Industries. So like this, the portfolios were divided. So those who are the member of the Governor General's Executive Council, they were allocated with the portfolio. So this portfolio system started. Okay. Non-official members of the Viceroy's Council cannot introduce a bill without prior permission of Viceroy. So prior permission of Viceroy is needed. Apart from returning the legislative power to the Madras and Bombay, it provided the new legislative council for Punjab and NWFP. Yes. So basically हुआ क्या कि whatever we were discussing कि 1773 में there was Governor General of Bengal. He get more power compared to Madras and Bombay. 1784 में further reduce कर दी गई power इन दोनों की. 93 में further reduce. 1813 में further reduce. And 1833 तो created disaster because it is designated as Governor General of India. Now means this Governor General is constitutionally the Governor General of entire India. And these were basically not practically in existence. मतलब होते थे nominally, but they were subordinated. But when this thing was ended, and then there was a viceroy and the crown's representative. After that, there used to be the creation of legislative councils at different places and different places. So there used to be the governor general separately. So basically, the powers used to be restored. So power was restored after the legislative council. So after 1857, the power started getting devolved again to the local. Okay. So both the statements are correct. Which are correct? C, both 1 and 2 is the correct answer to this question. Clear? After 1861, another council act was there in 1892. So in 1885, there was formation of Congress. Now before Congress also, there were many regional organizations. Now after the formation of Congress, what was the main agenda of Congress? The main agenda of Congress was to get more and more political concessions from Britishers. Now, how to get political concessions from Britishers? If you are going to resort to more violent activities, the Britishers are not going to give you more power. And they have comparatively more power. They can do violence and they can remove you. But then people thought in the Congress that right now it is time to go for the constitutional methods. Because they were thinking that Britishers are law-loving people. Means if we ask Britisher in a constitutional manner, like we will pray again in front of them, we will plead, we will give memorandum, we will give pamphlets, leaflets, like this, they will understand our grievances because they are famous for law. So basically, they thought like this. So once the Congress was formed, they asked government to bring some law, So 1892 mein they brought the Indian Councils Act. What mentioned in Indian Councils Act was there will be increased the membership of council. Congress ne bola, wah, kya baat kar di? You have increased the membership of council. Now in the central level, in the provincial level, both level pe we have increased. But still, the officials are in majority and non-elected are in majority. So there were basically government officials, elected and nominated. Now just assume, who will be the nominated member? They will be the supporter of Britishers. Government officials, supporter of Britishers. So basically, this nominated member and officials have a large majority over the elected. Or election B, it was not mentioned as election. It is basically elected from different trade unions are there, universities are there. Now their members themselves are the representative of government. So basically elected का कोई मतलब नहीं था. And hence Congress rejected 1892 का Indian Councils Act. बोला कि भाई you have not given us any power. The council is still important. Council do not have any function. ठीक है. And you have given us power to discuss the budget. But what we will do with discussion of budget when we do not have any voting rights over budget? हम कभी reject ही नहीं कर सकते. First we are not in majority. मतलब elected हमेशा minority में है. And that too we cannot vote over budget. So they started raising the idea and slogan like no taxation without representation. You can't tax us if you are not going to give us the representation. The Indian National Congress supported the Indian Councils Act of 1892 for its recognition of the rights of Indian. No, Congress rejected. And that was the major blow for Congress. Congress was thinking कि भाई we will pray and plead in front of the government. Government is going to give us some rights. But then they thought कि भाई कुछ right नहीं मिल रहा है हमें. What we will do? Then there was a rise of another faction in Congress which was the extremist faction. The Indian Council Act of 1892 expanded the Legislative Council with non-official members. So जो non-official members थे वो बढ़े, who had a right to discuss the annual budget and ask questions. Yes, non-official member बढ़े, but they are not in majority. They are not in majority. Who are in majority? Government officials and nominated. Nominated basically they are the non-officials. ठीक है? So this is right. Which of the following statement, consider which one of the following is correct in regard to this? First is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. So what is a D? D says the first statement is incorrect while the second statement is correct. So our answer should be D. First statement is not correct and second statement is correct. Okay, next question. Economic and other policies of Britishers. So next we have to discuss about the economic and other policies. Now see, what was the prime agenda of British East India Company? The prime agenda was to trade. उनका सिर्फ एक सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट मुद्दा था that we have to trade, we have to gain maximum out of India. They were utilizing India as colony. Colony का main objective यही होता है to serve the mother nation. Mother nation कौन था? Britain. So to serve mother country even when we are not having anything to eat. So basically they were doing it on multiple fronts. They have land revenue collection, and land revenue used to be the one of the largest share as far as the money is concerned. So land revenue used to be the largest source of the collection of money. So land revenue, now traditionally it used to be collected in the traditional system. There is a landowner, there are some peasants, they are on the mercy of landowner. अगर landowner पैसा देता है ठीक है, नहीं देता है तो भी ठीक है. But in the aftermath of the arrival of the British East India Company, when British East India Company gained control over the territories of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha after winning the Battle of Buxar 1764 and Treaty of Allahabad 1765, they got the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. Now the entire land revenue collection in Bengal, Bihar and Odisha is in the pocket of British East India Company. So from there they thought to revise the land revenue collection system, and hence in 1793 they started with the permanent settlement system in this particular region. What is permanent settlement system? It was not certain previously kitna land revenue collect hoga, and hence to give certainty what they assured कि भाई देखो this is the region, we are thinking that this should be the land revenue that should be generated from this land. तो उन्होंने बोला कि भाई जमींदार आज से आप owner हो इस land के, you are the owner. So they have recognized zamindar as the owner of that land, but in return zamindar have to give the fixed amount at the end of the year to Britishers. Now what will be that fixed amount? Whatever Britishers have assessed about that particular region, the 10/11th of that region will be given by zamindar to Britishers. This is the permanent settlement system. Now in this system, the peasants who are at the mercy of zamindar, they do not have any land rights. उनके पास कोई land ownership rights नहीं है. Another system started during the 1990s, the 1790s, or to be precise, we can say in the year 1792, when the personalities like Alexander Reed and Thomas Munro, they were basically the captain in the army and provided with the task of land revenue collection. Once they got the territories from the territories of Tipu Sultan after the third Anglo-Mysore war, they devised a new system. उन्होंने सोचा कि भाई देखो, unlike the territories of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha, there is no large land available with a specific individual. मतलब बड़े-बड़े जमींदार नहीं है, and hence whatever small peasants are there, we will recognize them as the owner of the land. So riots or the chota peasants used to be designated as the owner of the land, and direct settlement was done with the riots. In this particular case, there used to be an assessment of the land, and this assessment was there roughly for 30 years. तो 30 साल के लिए एक assessment करेंगे, and based upon that assessment, for next 30 years you have to give the land revenue. Now benefit क्या है कि peasants are getting the land ownership rights. Issue क्या है? Because basically हुआ क्या, this revenue was mentioned as so much inflated, इतना collect ही नहीं होता था कभी, and hence in this situation it led to the debt trap का cycle at the side of peasants or the riots. Another system or third system which is known as the Mahalwari system, which was started in time period of 1819 by Holt Mackenzie. 1890 में एक्सपेरिमेंटल तौर पे शुरू किया, by 1822 it was settled. Similarly for Ryotwari system also 1792 में it was started on the experimental basis. 1820 में when Thomas Munro became the governor of Madras, he started implementing this particular policy. Similarly Cornwallis in 1793 made this permanent settlement system permanent for perpetuity, मतलब हमेशा के लिए revenue same रहेगा. So these are the three prominent system for the land revenue collection. Ryotwari system was introduced by Thomas Munro and Alexander Reed. Yes. Under this system, the British government collected land revenue directly from riots. Yes. Both the statements are correct, and C is the correct answer to this question. Is it clear? Now see, when we were discussing about the permanent settlement system, here the peasants are at the mercy of landowner. मतलब there are no rights available. In the Ryotwari system, peasants have, or the riots have right of land. But what is the assessment of 30 years? This is so much inflated so that they were unable to pay. जब land का revenue आप दोगे नहीं, when you are unable to pay the land revenue, in that case it is right of Britishers to annex the land or the territory from you. So basically they used to collect the land, और land नहीं अगर ले रहे हैं आपका, in that case you have to repay. Now you will take loan from a जमीन, मतलब maybe any other person. तो आप जब loan लोगे, next year also similar kind of situation will occur, and you will go into the situation of debt trap. And in this particular situation, you will be unable to pay the revenue, and ultimately land will also go. So there was a situation of torture, and hence in 1855 around, there was a Madras Torture Commission that have highlighted these conditions of the peasant, even in the Ryotwari system, which was considered as one of the good system for the peasants or the riots. ठीक है? So the next question is about this Madras Torture Commission report. So the question is based on the Madras Torture Commission report 1855, scientific land survey new revenue assessment was conducted in 1864, resulted in the reduction of the actual tax burden. When the Torture Commission report highlighted the grievances of the riots, they have highlighted कि भाई हमें एक scientific तौर पे we need a survey and based upon that only we have to assign. Now what they will do, they have assessed the productivity of the land, they have assessed the overall production, what it can be done from that land, and that particular thing was decided from now onwards. So 1864 के बाद actual tax burden थोड़ा कम हुआ. The report highlighted the corruption and abuses in the revenue collection process under the Mehalwari system. No, it is not. अगर देखो नहीं भी समझ आ रहा है तो Madras Torture Commission. Now Madras Torture Commission obviously will be there for Madras region. Now Madras में which land revenue collection was there? It was a Ryotwari. So Ryotwari was there in the region of Madras, Bombay, your region like Mysore, later on certain area of central province. Similarly, Mehalwari was there basically in the Ganga plains, NWFP, Northwest Frontier Province, region of Punjab, Western UP. So basically in these regions, Mehalwari system will be there. So this is absolutely wrong with respect to the Mehalwari system. It should be the Ryotwari system. Which of the following statement is correct? So C, first statement is correct, but the second statement is wrong. Is it clear? Next question. Okay. Next question, which of the following best describes the significance of India's export surplus economy in the late 19th century? Now, what do we mean by the export surplus economy? That means an economy which is exporting more. So, export more and import less. तो जब आप एक्सपोर्ट ज्यादा करोगे इंपोर्ट कम करोगे दैट मींस यू हैव द पॉजिटिव बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट मतलब आपके पास पैसा बचेगा यू हैव अ मोर फॉर बिकॉज वंस यू एक्सपोर्ट यू विल गेट द मनी तो once you will import you will have to give money that means money will decrease so basically you will have positive money or availability of money that means that money and now India के context में use हो रहा है now who was controlling India at that point of time it was the British government so basically it is benefiting the Britishers it had minimal impact on the Britain's economic standing no minimum तो हो ही नहीं सकती because when there is India's export surplus economy that means it is going to benefit the Britain economically so it should not be the logical aspect it was essential for balancing Britain's trade deficit especially as other market became more protectionist so basically protectionist means कि other markets are not taking that much external products they are not opening their markets for the Britain. Now, what India was exporting, was it the finished products? No. It was basically what? Raw material. When they were exporting the raw material, they are earning more and basically they are gaining or taking the what? Taking the finished goods. So, it is essential for balancing Britain's trade deficit because Britishers have a deficit. That deficit will be compensated by this. So, suppose करो positive है, तो वो negative को compensate कर सकता है. Hence, this can be the correct one. Let's read other. It directly funded infrastructure development of British colonies worldwide. No. Again, in India also, when the infrastructure started developing like railways and all, the money was coming from outside as an investment in India. It was not कि India का ही money India में invest हो रहा है. It was not the situation. It significantly increased Britain's reliance on Indian manufactured goods. Now, Britain's reliance on the raw material, not the manufactured goods. So this is also wrong. Now, if this was confusion for you, now there is no other option available. So you have to mark B as the correct answer. So the positive that Indian economy was generating, that was helping Britain to compensate its deficit because British was more reliant for the food crop and many such crop on the external world. And hence in importing that thing, there was a deficit. And to compensate that deficit, they were utilizing the surplus of Indian economy. Is it clear? Clear? Next. Question number 1. Which of the following statement is correct regarding the civil services during the British India Company? So, civil services during British India Company. Now, the formal civil services started after the arrival of Cornwallis, but before that also there was a rough structure of civil services was there. Like these were basically considered them as the officials. So, the office of district collector was created for the first time by Cornwallis. No. Cornwallis made the reform through the Cornwallis Code, but district collector was initiated in 1771 by Warren Hastings, who was the first Governor General of Bengal. So this is wrong. Lord Wellesley restored and revived the magisterial power of district collector, which was divested by Cornwallis. No, it was not Wellesley. It was basically the Bentinck. Lord William Bentinck, who was the first Governor General of India. He restored and revived the magisterial power. The power of magistrate, power of trying that particular person to the district collector. Cornwallis founded the Fort William College. No, it was by Wellesley for training of civil servants. So it was done by Wellesley. Which Wellesley? It is basically Richard Wellesley. In which year? In the year 1800. One such objective of forming the Fort William College was to promote the Orientalist learnings also. This is also wrong. In 1806, Fort William College was replaced by Haileybury College in London to train civil servant. Yes. So in 1806, the London was chosen to be a destination for the training of civil servant, and in London, Haileybury College. Okay. So D is the correct answer to this. Next question, question number 44. Consider the following statements with respect to the Vernacular Press Act of 1878. Now, basically what happened during the time period of Lytton, who was very unpopular Governor General and Viceroy, from 1876 to 1880, he was the Governor General of India and Viceroy. Now, there were certain prominent things. For example, in 1877, 1877 he arranged the first grand darbar in 1877 के around he arranged the first grand darbar in India for the Queen Victoria, for proclaiming Queen Victoria as the Empress of India. So Grand Darbar organized किया. Then 1878 में he arranged this acts like Vernacular Press Acts, then Arms Act also. Means Indians cannot carry or have possession of arms, it will be illegal for them. So these are certain things which was done by the Lytton. And because of this, and another important key, basically the maximum age for the appearing for the civil services was reduced to 19 years. So as per this Vernacular Press Act, what was mentioned, the act mentions that if any newspaper writes any seditious article, any anti-British article, it is a right for the magistrate to confiscate that press and the press machinery. कोई appeal नहीं होगी. There will be no further appeal for that particular case. Now that was applied only for the vernacular press. If English paper writes like that, there is no impact on that. So basically there were many such newspapers turned into English or English language papers. Amrit Bazar Patrika was the first such paper to convert into the English language paper overnight. So it was started by Sisir Kumar Ghosh and Motilal Ghosh in 1875. So that was converted into English language paper and that prevented itself to the Vernacular Press Act. So this is wrong. Under the Act, Press Commissioner was appointed to supply the authentic news to press. Yes. Under this Act, appeal against the decision of the magistrate can be made in the Board of Director of the East India Company. No. There was no further appeal. So only 2 is correct. Matlab second statement is correct. So A, 1 only or only 1 is the correct answer to this question. Is it clear? Next question. Consider the following statements with reference to the Hunter Commission. Now in 1882, there was this Hunter Commission led by William Hunter. And who was the Governor General and Viceroy? It was Ripon. Lord Ripon was the Viceroy from 1880 to 1884, who was also famous for the Ilbert Bill controversy. So Ripon was the Governor General. This particular commission led by Sir William Hunter that was there to appraise the level of education in India. So basically in 1854, there was one dispatch which is known as the Woods Dispatch. That talked about a lot of things, for example, grant in aid for women education, different level of education, primary education, vernacular education. So to check that how that particular things are there, this Hunter Commission was there. Now what Hunter Commission talked about, कि भाई देखो primary level पर what is the primary education? Recently we have constituted certain municipal bodies. So primary education का काम should be provided to the municipal bodies or the local bodies. Means local bodies from now onward should be responsible for the primary education. It also talked about कि भाई women education का level उतना अच्छा नहीं हुआ. We should also focus upon the women education. It also talked about कि भाई देखो government should as early as possible retreat from education. So primary तक आप support करो, like above primary level, government should retreat its role from the education. Further, what Hunter Commission said, कि भाई देखो education should be divided into 2 parts because there are 2 categories of students. One who wants to learn, other who wants to earn. So those who wants to learn, there will be separate set of course, separate educational aspects, and those people will be allowed to participate for the university entrance, etc. But for the other students who just want to earn, there should be the vocational education. So it also talked about the vocational education. It had not talked anything about the university education or university grants. ठीक है? So it laid emphasis on the direct management of the secondary school by the provincial government. No, primary के लिए बोला गया था कि जो municipal boards हैं, that will be taking control. Secondary के लिए it said it should be gone from the government's hand. Grant in aid for improving the status of university education was suggested by Hunter Commission? No, it was not suggested. Most of the recommendations of the commission were rejected? No, most of the recommendations were accepted. Most of them were not rejected. Okay? So all the 3 statements are wrong. How many of the statements are correct? D, none is the correct answer. So none among this is the correct answer. Is it clear? Next question. Peasants, tribal and other movement. Okay? So there are certain important movements.